On today's episode, we are going to have an interesting conversation which will interest you. This is Galaxy Talk Show and I am the host. Today we are discussing about the moon. Yes, the moon. Yeah. Your guess is just like mine. What is interesting about the moon? Stay tuned and let's tell you more. Yeah, so Mr. Charles, the moon.
The moon.
Why is the moon?
The moon hasn't fallen on us. I'm still surprised. It should be falling on us. What is this stick in his head? I'm doing. I look at the moon. I'm like, so what if it falls on us? I mean, I sort of thought about it that if it falls on us, you know what's going to happen? It's going to crash. You're going to have a lot of particles orbiting Earth, and the few people remaining on Earth will see this beautiful ring like Saturn. So when the moon crashes, it will be like Saturn. But a lot of us will die.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the main topic of the moon. Obviously, I would say the moon is orbiting Earth, so it's our satellite. It's our natural satellite, basically.
Okay.
And anything that orbits the Earth or anything that's in orbit of a body, it's a natural. It's a satellite.
So the sun is also a satellite.
The sun doesn't orbit.
Okay.
The sun is sitting there, giving us energy and all that. So we orbit but we call us Earth. We call us planets.
Okay.
But then the bodies doing the orbit around our Earth, other planets, they are all natural satellites or satellites. Yeah, the satellites in space. So our moon is a natural satellite.
Okay.
So the moon. Jupiter has how many moons? I think 24.
Yeah.
Mars has 2. We have only 1. Why is that so? We couldn't get many moons, fortunately. Or is it creation? God didn't give us a lot of moons. Anyway, okay, so the moon gives us light, but it's not its own light. We all know it's not its own light. It's a reflection from the sun, right? And I think in our other discussions, we spoke about bodies attracting bodies, bigger bodies attracting smaller bodies, right? The mass of the Earth and the mass of the moon, obviously, are quite, the difference is quite significant. So the Earth is actually pulling on the moon. The moon is trying to run away. And fun fact is, the moon inches away every year. A bit of an inch.
From the Earth?
Yes.
Wow.
It's moving away a bit. And one other fun fact is, 1 billion years ago, we used to have 18 hours a day.
Wow.
Today we have 24 hours a day.
Wow.
And probably in the next billion years, we'll have 28 to 30 hours.
What causes the change?
Okay, so what happens is, in the creation of the Earth, when the Earth came to existence, it was rotating at a faster speed. You know, the Earth rotates on its axis, so probably beneath its gravity. We'll talk about that. There are a lot of explanations that people have taken for granted that we are using to work now, and it's helping us a lot. So the Earth is trying to pull, is pulling on the moon. The moon is actually pulling on the Earth a bit. So as the Earth is rotating, the moon is pulling on it, and it is slowing the Earth's rotation down a bit. So it's becoming like the days are becoming longer. Yeah, because the moon is pulling on us. So probably the next billion years, we'll have 28 hours. And I'm sure our CEO would love to be at that time because he wants more hours in the day. So that we can achieve more. Yeah, so the moon orbits us. The moon has this nitty-gritty little things that it does to us on Earth. Right. Now, one of the most important and one of the most main things that we all, or most people talk about, is its effect on our oceans. Yeah. And a lot of people have asked, we hear it, what's the effect on the moon? What has the moon got to do with our oceans? Our oceans are sitting somewhere and the moon is doing all the job. Right. So, because we have 70% of water, of fluids on the face of the Earth, that is jiggly. You know, water is not a solid object. It's jiggly. Once there's a tag on it, it will probably shake a bit. Right?
Okay. So is that why people are interested in visiting the moon?
Okay.
Because of the water?
No. So the water we have on Earth, our oceans, it's what is affected by the presence of the moon. Understand? People are going to the moon to establish a base and look at the resources they can get there, as in space mining, get a few things that probably are very expensive they can bring on Earth and etc. But what the moon does is, because it is tagging on Earth and Earth has a lot of water, it pulls the water a bit and it bulges. We use the word bulge. And let me clarify this. There's a difference between tides and waves.
Tides and waves.
Waves, yes. Yeah. So a wave is like you have strong winds blowing over the water or blowing over something, and it's causing the waves that can hit about 3 meters high. Yeah. But a tide is the level of the sea. So higher tide is a higher level, lower tide is lower level. So the moon causes these tides. So when the moon pulls on Earth's oceans, they bulge, right? So it forms a higher tide at where it is pulling them at. So you can imagine if Earth comes between the sun and the moon. So they are all in a straight line. So when the Earth is in between the sun and the moon, we call it what? The full moon. Okay. That is what is referred to as the full moon. When the Earth is in between the sun and the moon. Okay. But when the moon is in between the sun and the Earth, that's what we call the new moon.
Okay.
Right. And you usually don't see the new moon. You see, the sun is behind it.
So it's behind the new moon.
It's behind the moon.
The moon itself.
Yeah, so the moon is in the center. The sun is here, the Earth is here. So the sun's rays just hits the moon. It doesn't reflect
before it even
comes to us. So sometimes you see that the moon is just in little space. Sometimes the moon doesn't even come. The moon doesn't come out. You don't see it because it's not reflecting anything. Okay. When it comes to the other side, it will get the reflection on Earth. Right. So that is the explanation of full moon and a new moon. Usually you don't see the new moon. So this is because it's not reflecting any light. Okay, so back to the tides. So as it pulls on them, they bulge. And then, as I said, when you have both the sun and the earth, or the sun here, the earth here, and the moon there, both of them are pulling. Pulling the water. So that is when you have really, really high tides. They really are high tides, and as the earth is rotating. And this brings us to the explanation where in the night, our tides are very high because of the full moon. Because now the moon has come to your section and it's about pulling and it's worrying the ocean. So the ocean is bulging. So at daytime, you'd be like, oh, the water is just at my feet. At night time, it's not the same place. It's going up. You see, so these are some of the explanations that occur with regards to the moon. So that is how the moon affects the tides of our sea. Okay. And the interesting thing is that these tides and this phenomena is used to do a lot of things for us. It helps in wind turbines. It's used to produce power, because of the tides and the waves. And then it also helps ships and cruise ships to know when to move to save fuel, etc. and all that. Okay. So it is very important to take that aspect of the moon into consideration.
All right. But I would like to find out from you, why is the moon gray in color? Because I think almost all pictures we see or videos we see about moon has this grayish color. What causes the color of
the moon? When you come to Earth, the moon is like a stone.
Okay. But even looking at the moon from Earth, let's say late in the night, I chance on the moon. I see it to be gray or some sort of color.
Color, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have the red moon, which is as a result of our atmosphere.
Yes.
Sometimes that is very thick.
Yes. We have the one that looks like yellowish something, and that golden yellow.
Right.
That only comes maybe when it's setting.
Yeah, that's
Sunset.
when the sun is setting.
Yes. But then looking at the videos of moon that we've seen, and also images at night, that color, what causes that particular shape or color?
So obviously we know the moon is reflecting the light from the sun and it's being thrown to us. And the moon is not a place where you probably have rainfall, you have trees growing, it's just a huge piece of rock hovering around us. So the color of the moon is just like any rock you pick out there. It's just like those asteroids passing, those ones passing, you know. The moon even doesn't have an atmosphere.
Okay. The moon.
Yeah. So when you're on the moon, you see the sky as black. You understand? You see space. But if it had an atmosphere, you probably see some light scattered through, and then you'll be seeing different colors and all that. You understand? So that is why you have the moon to be grayish in color. It's just a rock. It has nothing going on. There are no plants. We are just now discovering water. And so till they discover it, we'll still take it as one rock orbiting us in space. So yeah, I think that's basically it.
We were talking about the fact that there are several moons on other planets aside Earth. So I want to know, what causes that? Is there a cause for that? Why is Earth having only one moon? And there are even planets that I'm sure that have about 50 plus moons.
Yeah, Jupiter is having 20 plus.
So what causes that? Or there is no explanation for why some planets have more moons than others?
When you talk about the Big Bang Theory, which a lot of people sometimes have issues with when you talk about Big Bang Theory and the formation of the universe and how Earth was formed and how all the other planets were formed, and you have asteroids flying, bodies flying in space, all these bodies in space flying. You look at Jupiter. Jupiter is huge. So Jupiter sort of pulls a lot of as in bodies in space towards it. So when there was the Big Bang and things were being formed and all that, because of Jupiter's mass, most of the bodies that were passing had to end up doing the orbit around Jupiter. So it had to do with the mass. It had to do with the mass of the. You go to Mars, it has two moons, Mophos and Phonos or something, but they are very small moons comparatively, and not like our moon. They are comparatively smaller. And it's also as a result of Big Bang. Once the body was passing, it entered its orbit and it got stuck in there, so it decided to move. So that explains why there are a lot of. This one has a lot of moons. This one has so there's a body passing and then it got into Earth's orbit.
Okay. The last question I would like to know about the moon is there a possibility of the Earth losing its moon? I know you made mention of something like that previously, even before we started the conversation.
Yeah.
But then, is that a possibility?
All right, thanks. So when Isaac Newton was learning about the galaxies and how the Earth rotates and all that, he realized, as I said, Jupiter has been tagging on Earth when it comes close to it. So it moves it out of orbit. So how does it come back into orbit? And what is happening? You know what he said? God will handle it.
Okay. That's deep.
Yeah, he got to a place. Newton said, you know what? I think this one, God will handle it. So sometimes I believe, even in the galactic world, there are certain things that happen. There's this particular force that will push it back to you as it keeps going. So, as I said, once you study a lot of science, you go deeper into it. You get to love some of the things that you get to know about creation and how things work. So, I'll leave the question to the fact that I think God handles it.
God.
Anytime it inches away, God will tell the moon, look, get into orbit and better not leave your people alone. So yeah, I think that would be the explanation. And everything in this universe has its laws. You know about it, that it has inched away and it's affecting something, but the laws will keep it in place. And as I said, God will handle it.
Wow. God will handle it.
Yeah.
That is the word from our technical engineer, who is also a space enthusiast. And over here, he acknowledges God. Isn't God beautiful? Isn't God wonderful? Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Charles, for joining us on today's podcast. Thank you all for joining us in today's episode. Stay tuned for more podcasts. See you on the next one. Bye.